2024 recap of my year to take you guys through some of my lessons, some of my failures, some of my achievements, and yeah, just really zoom in on some things that I think you guys will get some value from. It's good to reflect, to just write down the list of highlights and lessons just before I recorded this is pretty cool. So I think you guys will get a lot of value from this. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you get value from it. I hope you enjoy it. And let's rip into it. This will be a different sort of vibe than my normal podcast. If you guys listen, I'm normally like super direct, talk super quick, and I just like try to get as much value compact as possible. This one's going to be more chilled out, conversational, where I'm just going to literally talk into some points. I think I got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 here for you. And yeah, let you know what I got out of it and maybe a lesson or two that you guys can take out of it too. So with that being said, one of the biggest themes of 2024 for me was focus and just learning how to focus and just the importance of focus. And then that paired with leverage. Leverage is the difference between what you put in and what you get out. Now, Alex Hormozi, great fan, raving fan of Alex Hormozi. He talks about this really well. He says, strategy is the allocation of resources when there's unlimited options, but limited resources. And I really love that. So if you want to be successful, quote successful, and whatever that looks like with your health, with your relationship, with your finances, with your business, whatever it may be, there is only so many so many resources that you have. Now, some people have more resources than others, but everyone has a cap on resources. So given that there are unlimited options, there's unlimited things you could do to move towards your goals, to achieve the things you want, to have, quote, success, you need to be strategic. So you need to decipher what are the highest leverage activities and goals and things that you can focus on. Something that I've really gained from Alex Hormozi, and I guess how my mind works as well, I do enjoy having a single focus. I love having like a bone to chew on and just a big project to work on. And that becomes the Northern Star. Now, obviously with a team and systems and things, there's other things you delegate, but all roads lead to the outcome. So for me, a huge lesson that I've gotten clearer and clearer and clearer on is that it's just so important to have clarity on what you're focused on. What's the goal? What is it that you truly want to achieve? And what's the highest leverage goals to focus on? And then hyper focusing on that, saying no to so many things that get in the way. I think there's a story of Steve Jobs where he, in his meetings that he would have with his team members, he would ask them the question of what opportunities have you said no to lately? Because that's what real focus is. It's being able to, yes, say yes to the thing that you're doing, but therefore it means saying no to so many other things. So like people ask me like to jump on their podcast, to do a collaboration, to come meet up for a coffee. I had one the other day, and I literally just said, because I'm friends with the person that asked me, and I said, hey man, look, out of respect, I love you and I want to respond to you, but I just want to let you know that I'm pretty dialed in with what I'm working on, what I'm here to achieve. I've got a plan, and I don't really catch up for coffees. I really just don't do that. Now, would I do it if the right situation, opportunity presented itself? Maybe. But I know what I want to do and I know what I'm working on, and I love you as a friend and I'm sure we will connect, but I'm going to say no. So just simple things like that, because every time you say yes to someone, whether you catch up for a coffee, you catch up for a drink, you go get lunch together, you even respond to their messages. I had one today, actually. I had someone message me on Instagram. And just so you guys know, I have a team that looks after my Instagram. I skim over it to like see and make sure my team's doing a good job. But there was this one client, this person that I had answered a question for her. I jumped on my DMs randomly and I saw it and I thought I'd jump in and give some value. And I did. And then she'd sent like 10 messages from her, and I opened it and there was like 10 screenshots, these massive paragraph messages. And I'm like, holy shit. Like the mental capacity just to read that, holy. And it's not that I don't want to help people. I love helping people. But it's like that energy invested into that would take away from energy I could invest on the higher leverage things. So I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit, where it's like over deliver, help as many people as you can, spend the time and effort, but Know what your main focus is. My main focus is not DMing and being in my DMs. It used to be. That was a part of my journey, and I'll talk about that later when it comes to business. But for me, it's focused on what are like the big projects that I can work on. For me, it's events. It's my book that I'll reference in a moment. And to close that loop off with that conversation, that lady, I didn't read the messages, but I sent her a voice message out of respect. I said, hey, look, thank you so much for being vulnerable and being open and asking for help, because that's massive. But I just want to let you know, I receive hundreds of messages every day, and I have hundreds of clients, paying clients that I work with. And I want to serve you, I want to help you, but the time and energy it'll take me like an hour to read all the messages she sent through. And I said, look, I would love to help you, but that energy and effort, I have to dedicate that to the clients that are paying me to do that. So I'm here to help you. Go binge my podcast. Here's the option if you'd love to come work with me, because if you become a client with me, I'm happy to help you and spend the time because you're paying for that. That's the exchange. I'm sending you love. I hope you get through what you're going through. And yeah, I'm here for you. But I'm sharing that story as an example of just being so conscious of what you say yes to, what you say no to, but also what are the high leverage activities for you to be doing? Because there's a lesson I'm going to share that I did earlier. So just to comment on that, actually, I'll come back to that later. So next point is I wrote a book this year. So that was, if I had to give one single highlight, it would be this and getting married with my beautiful wife, which I'll touch on soon. But it would be between the book and getting married. Those would be my two biggest highlights of this year. So this came from doing an exercise with a mentor of mine, Cody McAuliffe, if you're watching this, Cody. So we did this exercise. I love this exercise, and I would love for you to do it if you wanted to. Is essentially, he says, it's a beautiful exercise. So he hands out a piece of paper that you're going to write down. And he says, he frames it and says, you've got 6 months to live. What do you do? That was it. So he says, you're going to die in 6 months. What do you do? And pen and paper, I pick up my pen, I start writing down. First thing I say is I write the book that I've been talking shit about for 3 years. And then I say, like, I document my lessons and I have things, have family, do the thing, spend time with loved ones, look after my health, do the things, live life. And then at the end of the exercise, he says, these are your legacy goals, your legacy values that you're procrastinating. And it was just like such a stab in the heart. I was like, fuck, you're right. Because I'd literally started writing the book like twice, like over the last 2-3 years. I just always made excuses, always whatever. And for me, going back to the thing of focus and high leverage activities, I took a moment because I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to change the world. If you guys haven't been following me, I love helping people, healing people. I love helping people find their purpose, do the inner healing work to work through limiting beliefs, trauma, blocks, XYZ, to help them live out their purpose and give their gift to the world. Give your gift and purpose back to the world and get paid to do it. How do you get paid to do what you love? Find your purpose and learn how to get paid to live out your purpose. That's what I love helping people do. And inevitably, I was going to write a book. I'd obviously been thinking about it, visualizing it. I'd started it twice. And for me, I made the decision, whether it's right or wrong, that I believe the highest leverage activity I can do long term over the next 30 plus years, 50 years, however long, 80 years, hopefully, that I live for, I believe a book is high leverage for me because it allows me to actually help people en masse. There's people around the world who can order this right now for $10. There's an audio and Kindle version for like $1. So it's going to give me the impact, income, scale, awareness that I want. It's going to help me move towards my mission. So I decided to go all in on that. And that was literally January, I think 10th was when I did this exercise. That day, I canceled projects. I said, nah, not doing that, delegating that, stop doing that. If you guys listen to my podcast, you'll notice I haven't really been doing any guests on my podcast. And that was one of the things I decided to stop doing. Because yes, it's what are you going to start doing, but then what are you going to stop doing? And All Roads was like, if hasn't got anything to do with the book, I'm not going to focus on it. Got myself a coach and just dedicated to it. And I wanted to share a couple of takeaways from the book that I thought was really valuable to me. For me, writing the book, the biggest benefit of writing a book isn't the branding, isn't the authority, isn't the Amazon best-selling list. It's none of those things. The thing that I got the most out of writing the book was refining my teachings. It was actually learning how to articulate and understand what I do on a deeper level. It's such a beautiful process. It's for anyone that's got the gift of ADHD. It's definitely a challenge to write a book. I literally threw my phone. I'd sit in my office where I am right now, and I would throw my phone like over near my door, so I would stop checking my phone. Back to the topic of focus, right? But my biggest benefit was just learning how to really understand. Because if you can notice the way that I talk even right now on this podcast, I have the gift of ADHD, autism, Asperger's, and my mind kind of like drifts around, and I'll open all these loops and then I'll forget to close them. And like when someone asks me a question, I'll use like a story, a metaphor. I'll use all these different things to then come back to a central point to teach a lesson. And that obviously serves people at certain times and certain circumstances. But a book is a different beast. A book is how do you teach and get the message across with the shortest amount of words possible. I think it's Einstein that said this. I could be butchering this, so sorry for whoever I just quoted. But the true intelligence is being able to say more with less. I think it's Shakespeare. I actually don't know who this is, but anyway, I'll tell you the lesson. Is he wrote this book. He wrote this letter. And this is how the letter said this. He said, "Sorry for the length of this letter. If I had more time, it would be shorter." I thought that's beautiful. It's like true intelligence is being able to say and teach the lesson with the shortest amount of words possible. So for doing the book, it like forced me to go, okay, how do I teach values? How do I teach purpose? How do I teach trauma? How do I teach limiting beliefs? How do I take people through my process? And it literally like dialed in and refined the shit out of my teachings. Like it's honest for anyone who's like a service-based person, a coach, you teach education or services as like a business, or if that's what you want to do, write a book without the intention of publishing it. Obviously publish it if you want to, but the activity of actually going through the process of dialing down your thoughts and articulate them into a book with just images is incredible. It's so empowering. Like my ability to be a coach and to do the mastery that I do with helping people identify their triggers, their traumas, their resistance, their purpose, and dial that in, my skill set as a coach went through the roof. So that was actually my biggest takeaway. Some of those actual lessons that I dialed in was, what is trauma? So from doing this process and obviously working with clients and doing more learning and growth and all those things, which I'll touch on soon, I really dialed in how I define trauma. As of right now, my definition of trauma is a moment in time where something was painful, bad, too much, or not enough. And it will be a specific word, it will be a behavior or a character trait. And I teach that in the book. Go get the book, by the way. Go grab a copy for me, huh? The link will be down below. That was one lesson. This is another lesson that I really have sunk into this year, is the resistance you're avoiding is what's keeping you stuck. So wherever you have emotional resistance in your life, you judge someone, you don't like someone, you're resenting someone, you're holding on to something, you get triggered by something, underneath that resistance, it will be one of two things. It will be a limiting belief or a trauma. That's it. So the trauma would be a behavior or a character trait. It will be something that you don't like that they're mirroring back to you to give you the awareness of where you get to work on yourself. You will attract people and circumstances to reveal where you have not healed. So where you have emotional resistance, that's where you get to heal. So where you have judgment, projections, triggers, things you're holding on to, you don't like someone, you don't want to be around someone, there is something there for you to tune into. So that was another big lesson. I learned how to teach purpose really, really well. So purpose is an expression of your greatest core wound. Pain becomes purpose, wounds become wisdom. So I tell you, and just so you know, all these processes are in the book. So again, go grab a copy. And then I talk about the 4 pathways. So there's 4 pathways of how you can create a life that you love. There's 4 pathways to make money, to have a vehicle that allows you to make money. These are the 4. Number 1, work a job that you fucking hate and never change. Don't do this one. A lot of people do this one. And the litmus test to that is, if money wasn't a factor, would you still do the job? Would you still work that job? 90% of people that I've met would say no to that question. Second is, you build a career, or you get a career which is aligned with your values and your purpose. So you have meaning and fulfillment. Because in reality, I believe everyone could be an entrepreneur. I just don't believe everyone's willing to do the work required to become an entrepreneur. That's just my personal belief. Because everything's a skill. Every pathway and belief can be rewritten. Neuroplasticity, everything can change, but not everyone's willing to do it. So, and there's pros and cons. Like there's like the amount of stress and challenges that come with business, which allow you to grow. That's the benefit of it. And you can have the outsized returns of income. That's the benefit of it. there's benefits to business, but fuck, like I've for any entrepreneurs that have gone through the dark night of the soul, and like the breaking point is like, fuck, I might just go get a job, it'd be so much easier. But for entrepreneurs that are out there, it's like, it's worth it, right? Especially when it's your purpose and you want to give it to the world, right? So step one is, or pathway number one, work a job you hate, never change. Don't do that one. Number two, get a career that is aligned with your values and purpose. Number three is to build a business that pays you enough money so you have time and financial freedom. So you don't have to work. So it's a vehicle purely to make you money. It's not necessarily a purpose-led business. That's the first option. The fourth option is to build a purpose-led business. That's my favorite option. I love this quote. When what you do is the fullest expression of who you are, you will do your life's best work. I love that quote. I'm just going to say it again. When what you do is the fullest expression of who you are, you will do your life's best work. So I prefer the fourth option because it's more purpose-driven, it's more love-driven, you're more inspired by it. Because the reality is every business is hard. Every business is hard. There's no fucking thing out there where you do 7 magical steps that are so easy and so timeless and so simple that anyone can do it. You do it and you tickle the genie's magic belly and money just pours into your bank account. Doesn't work like that. Now you probably see like these online entrepreneurs and drop shippers and e-commerce people that say that that is possible. I guarantee you it's not that simple, because a lot of those people that actually teach that, they're making money from teaching you how to do it. Like it's insane. So just keep that in mind. But don't get me wrong, I know people who make millions of dollars from a business that they don't necessarily love. They do it purely to make the money. It's just a vehicle to pay the money. I did that with the gyms. If you don't know my story about the gyms, I was in gyms for a while, opened 3 gyms, hit a broken point, gave one away, sold one. Then I had one gym that paid me $2,000 to $3,000 a week for 1 hour of work. And that gave me the freedom to do what I want, which was to get clear on my purpose, figure out what it is, and figure out how to help people with it, which led me to the fourth option: build a purpose-led business. Do what you love what you do, and get beautifully paid to do it. It's a beautiful life when you get to that point. And I teach you how to do that in the book and with my services, by the way. So, hope that made sense. So that was some of my main takeaways from writing the book, okay? So it helped me dial down my teachings, understand my lessons, know how to articulate better, and those were some of those said lessons. So, another lesson that I got from writing the book is I just take control of the things you have control over. Like for me, like I definitely fall victim, or I still fall into the trap of caring about like external achievement. Like I still have that, like I want to be a best-selling author. I want to hit the Amazon #1 best-selling list, which I did do, but I did catch myself getting a little bit like obsessed with that. But listening to like Ryan Holiday, who talks about stoicism, it's like focus on what you can control. Everything outside of that is things to just let go of. So for me, like I couldn't control how many sales I make. I don't know how many I'm going to make. I'm not sure if people are going to enjoy the book. Who knows? All I can control is how great I make that book. So for me personally, I spent 1,500 hours on this book. That's writing it. I think I rewrote it 5 times. I did rewritten it 5 times. I think I did 4 or 5 re-edits, so read over it and tweak it. Plus, I had a book editor helping me with it, and they did 5 rounds as well. So there was 1,500 hours just from me, and then my book editor probably put 1,000 hours plus into it as well. So I was really happy with it. Now, could I already sharpen it up again? I certainly can. I'll probably do like an updated version 10 years from now, but I'm not keen to write another book anytime soon. But lesson that I wanted to share is that don't focus on the external accolades. Focus on what you can control. Focus on doing the best fucking job that you can with what you have. And recognizing how much work is possible from you, and how much work you're capable of, and how much effort you can actually put into something it's really empowering, to be honest. Like, to know what I put into that book, I'm proud. It's the proudest piece of work I've ever made. As a coach, as a business entrepreneur, whatever you want to call myself, that is the proudest piece of work I've ever done. And recognizing how much work I put into it, it's like, okay, that's the bar and standard of what I put into like my other work, my events that I'm starting to run, my online community that I'm building, all the work that I'm doing. It's like I'm putting more effort into it to make what I do amazing, not for the external accolades and all the whatever comes with it. I'm doing it because it's what I want to do. I want to make this amazing. And just having that mindset towards life has really shifted me. So I've really enjoyed that lesson as well. Let's move on. I mentioned it before, I got married this year. So I wanted to speak into that because there was a couple of lessons I got out of it. So Firstly, I've had heaps of people come up to me. It's like, oh my God, how's married life? How have you changed since then? To be honest with you, it fucking hasn't changed. Like, it honestly hasn't. And this is the thing that it kind of ties into the next point as well, is I had people on my wedding day say, hey, are you nervous for it? I'm like, what? Why? Why would I be nervous? If you are marrying someone, if you're nervous to marry that person, I don't think you should be marrying them. Like I said it as a part of my speech on the day, because I had so many fucking people ask me about it. I said, to be honest, guys, I've received so many people ask me today, are you nervous about getting married? I said, I haven't been more confident and more sure about any decision in my life of marrying this beautiful woman. Like, I'm so certain this is the woman I want to be with. And I believe if you're nervous to marry the person, I don't think they're the right person for you, right? Now that's just my belief. But like, our relationship was amazing before and it's amazing now. I think externally people view you differently because you got a ring on your finger and you've committed to each other. But like, I'm just as committed to Georgia, my wife Georgia. I'm just as committed to her now as I was before I married her. So for me, honestly, marriage hasn't done anything. So sorry to burst the bubble for everyone that's like pedestaling a wedding or a marriage. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a great celebration of love. It was a beautiful day. I like don't really drink. I think on my wedding day, I had some drink. I drank some alcohol. That was the first time that's the only time I've drunken alcohol in, I think, the last 4 years. So I'm not into drinking, but it was fun to have fun, dance, see like friends and family and loved ones come together. So I really enjoyed that part of the wedding, just seeing family come together and connect over like me and Georgia. So that the day itself was beautiful, magical. It was a beautiful day. But in terms of like, has it changed our dynamic? Me personally, no. Maybe Georgia, maybe. I from what I've asked her, it hasn't really. Like, we're just as committed. Our intimacy is amazing. Our connection is amazing. We still have the natural challenges of relationships where we trigger each other, which I'll get into in a moment, and we get to heal and work through it together. But yeah, that's just, honestly, that's my version of a wedding. So yeah, sorry to burst the bubble for a lot of wedding people out there that are really like obsessed about it. And don't get me wrong, have a great day, have a meaningful thing. But if you think, I'll touch on this. If you think that a wedding is going to make your relationship successful, I think that is a shit belief. I don't think it doesn't do anything in that angle, in my opinion. Because if you're not addressing your wounds, you're not communicating well, you're not working through the resistance, you're not doing the things that make up a beautiful relationship, a wedding ain't gonna do shit. It just if anything, just makes the divorce and the breakup harder. So that's just my beliefs anyway. So that's been my experience with the wedding. But again, beautiful day. I love my wife. She's downstairs. I'm going to go hang out with her after I finish filming this. I love you, baby girl, just so you know. Now, 3 steps that I've learned. I've been coaching a little bit more in relationships now. This year, it really seems to be a theme of my content and people seem to enjoy it. 3 pieces that I talk about for a healthy relationship. Number 1, make sure you've both healed enough where you take ownership and responsibility for your own triggers and your own wounds, which I'll get to in a moment. Step 2 is that you both know the vision for your relationship and you guys are aligned with the non-negotiables. Because, picture this. Say one partner wants family. They want kids. They love self-development and self-growth, and they love traveling the world. Picture their partner or potential partner. They hate family and they never want to have kids. They hate self-development and self-growth. They think it's a cult and a scam. And number 3, they never want to travel. They hate traveling. Can you see the conflict that's going to go on if these people get together? So for me, which I don't know why, like it was common sense to me, but I guess a lot of people just don't think about this or talk about this, is what's the vision for your relationship? I do this, it's in the book as well, it's in my services. What's your vision? What's the vision for your life? What does the vision of your relationship look like? And then get your partner to answer the same question. And then are you guys actually aligned? Crazy, most people just don't fucking think about it. And if you're not aligned, that's okay. There's how many people on the planet? 8 billion people? There's billions of other people out there. And there will be someone who's aligned with you, with the non-negotiables. Now, I also talk about like make sure it's not one-sided or a fantasy. Some people want like someone who's always happy, never sad, and like they're pedestaling. They've got a fantasy, which is a trauma coping mechanism. But just make sure it's fair and reasonable. Like for me, just to give you guys an example, if you like examples. Number 1, for me, self-growth is a non-negotiable. I couldn't be with someone who doesn't work on their own stuff. Number 2, health. I couldn't be with someone who doesn't look after their health fundamentally. I joke around with Georgia when I first met her. I said, you don't have to become Tony Robbins and you don't have to become a bodybuilder, but I want to be with someone who does self-growth. They work on their stuff. They heal their stuff. They take ownership and responsibility for their own growth. Number 2, they look after their health fundamentally. You don't have to become a bodybuilder, but they look after their health. 3, I want family. I want kids. That's certainly something I want. And intimacy. That's a big one for me. I'm a cuddler. If anyone's met me, I love a good hug. Hugging is like one of my superpowers. So I love connecting, cuddling, like touching. Physical touch is definitely a love language of mine. So those were like my 4. So it's like, is it fair and reasonable to find someone who wants to do self-growth, they want to look after their health, they want to have family, and they love being intimate and connecting together? I think that's pretty reasonable. If I had a 50 checklist thing, they have to be this tall, this hair color, all these things, which I've seen some insecure people with those, I would say that you haven't healed enough. I say that's an insecure answer. Yes, have standards, have things that you want, but make sure they're fair and reasonable. And the number 3, third step of a healthy relationship. Number 1, you've healed enough where you take ownership and responsibility of your own triggers. Number 2, you have a vision. They have a vision, and you guys are aligned with your non-negotiables. And then number 3, you support and challenge each other to move towards your vision. Because your intimate relationships will mirror you the most. They will trigger you the most. They will reveal the wounds you haven't addressed yet the most, because they see you deeper than anyone else. So, with that awareness, you guys can bring awareness to your own triggers, to your own wounds, to your own limiting beliefs, so you guys can both heal through them. That's the gift of a conscious relationship. I believe one of the greatest purposes of a conscious relationship is to heal, as long as you take ownership of it. Because remember, trauma, coping mechanisms, and triggers. Trauma is the moment in time that I mentioned earlier. Second is a coping mechanism. It's what you do to deal with, overcome, and hide the trauma. So people pleasing, overworking, smoking cigarettes, disassociating, yelling, screaming, defending, deflecting, whatever it may be. Third is a trigger. A trigger reminds you of the trauma and it activates the coping mechanism. So when you get triggered, it's revealing something within you. Nothing triggers you, it reveals what's inside of you. Your partner will do that more than anyone else. So when they reveal what's inside of you, if you have awareness and consciousness and you take ownership, you can then heal faster than anywhere else. So that's a great gift of a conscious relationship. Let's keep moving forward. So 2024 for me, a lot of self-growth. I became a Demartini facilitator. So Dr. John Demartini, he's my number 1 mentor. I became a breathwork facilitator. I became a holographic facilitator. It's similar-ish to Demartini. I attended men's retreats. I read a ton of books. I didn't really put too many notes down for my self-growth, but I love growing. I believe that you're growing or you're dying. Very Tony Robbins, that one. But I guess some takeaways from Demartini. Just his Demartini method is amazing. I love his Demartini method. It's about balancing perceptions. In my book, I have my version of it. It's called The Balancing Process, where I reference Demartini, his Demartini method, but I add and tweak some things to make it, I think, a little bit more holistic. That's just my opinion anyways. And the results that I literally had this is actually timely. I had a client today who had done Demartini, but she hadn't closed the loop off emotionally. She was very intellectualizing with things. So I took her through my balancing process and we got the crack, we got the healing. So that was actually, ironically, timely for this. But Demartini, big fan, massive fan of him. Go dive into his work. I'm a big fan of his work. I became a breathwork facilitator. I love breathwork. I'll talk about the 5 bodies while I'm here. So there's 5 bodies to heal through when it comes to doing inner work and healing. There's the mental body, the emotional body, the physical body, the spiritual body, and the energetic body. There's 5 bodies. You want to touch on all of them. My processes, my balancing process, my meditations, and my ego dissolving process touches all 5 of them. So you just want to make sure you're using the right tool for the right body. So thing I love with breathwork allows you to emotionally heal and somatically heal depending on your response when you do the process. If anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, you do certain breathing techniques to activate your nervous system or to honestly override the mind. There's a term that I'll remember. It's called transient hypofrontality. So essentially you do the breathing technique where you go 5, you start breathing in slow, fast out, and you go like in for 5 seconds, out for 1 second, and then you 4 in, 1 out, 3 in, 1 out, 2 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out, and you just keep doing that. And eventually you overwhelm and you oversaturate your body with either oxygen or carbon dioxide. I'm forgetting which one it is right now. Essentially, it will then knock out or temporarily deactivate the neocortex. So your reptilian brain kicks in and it will release any suppressed emotions. So that's why if anyone's seen anyone do like a breathwork session and people scream, they shake, they cry, they convulse, it's literally your nervous system, your autonomic nervous system, closing the loop off of emotions. So it's really, really, really beautiful to use for emotional processes. So really cool tool. I wanted to add that into my toolkit. So now I can use that with my clients, which I do. But like any tool, it has its limitations. I always use if you're holding a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So breath work is great, but it has its limitations. DeMartini is great, it has its limitations. Somatic work is great, but it has its limitations. So you just want to make sure you holistically are doing your healing. So if you're someone who's done some healing work, but you still have those patterns and those triggers and those blocks and those things playing out in your life, you haven't fully closed the loop. You may not have touched the right body yet, healed the right body yet. Come work with me. I'll help you close the loop. Hope that made sense. So a lot of learning. I'm going to do some more learning next year. I'm never going to stop that. What else? Oh, something that I really enjoyed. This was a lesson I got from my current member, Cody, is follow the fraud. So there's two types of imposter syndrome. I made a video on this recently, actually. So one type of imposter syndrome is when you're trying to be someone that you're not. So you're living to someone else's projections. When you hear the words you have to, you should, you ought to, you got to, you must, you're supposed to, someone is projecting their values or beliefs onto someone else, right? So when you do that, you will feel like an imposter because you're literally being someone that you're not. You're trying to be number two of someone else. So come back to authenticity, know your values, know your purpose, know your mission and vision, and live congruently in alignment with it. That's the first type of imposter syndrome. That's, quote, the bad type because you're not being yourself. The second type, which I believe is the healthier type, is when you are becoming someone you haven't been before. So if where you are right now, you want to grow and evolve and do something or become someone that you haven't been before, you're literally becoming someone you haven't been before. So you're naturally going to feel like a bit of a fraud or a bit of imposter. I had this when I started writing the book. When I started writing this book, I'm like, who am I? I'm only in my 20s. Who am I to achieve it? I'm comparing myself to Tony Robbins, to DeMartini, to Joe Dispenza, all these people. Why would someone listen to me? I had the fraud. I had the imposter thoughts come up because I'm becoming someone I haven't been before. I'm actually going through that now. It's called an ego death as well for my spiritual self-growth humans out there. So I'm actually doing this now because I'm leaning into events. I'm learning into running in-person events. That's like my next edge that I'm leaning into, which I'll get to soon. So again, it comes up. Who am I to run events? How am I going to run it? Are people going to enjoy it? There's all the things coming up because I'm growing. And this is the big lesson I wanted to share with you. If you don't feel like an imposter or a fraud, the good version, as long as you're being yourself, you're in alignment, you're being who you truly are, you're moving towards your purpose, your mission, your vision, as long as you're doing that, if you don't feel like a fraud or an imposter every 12 to 18 months, I don't think you're growing. I don't think you're taking enough action. I don't think you're looking to lean into your edge. So an edge for me is where you feel nervous, where you feel uncomfortable, where you feel resistance. That's good. That means you're fucking growing. Lean into the discomfort. Lead into feeling uncomfortable. So hope that made sense. So follow the fraud is the lesson I'd like to share with you guys. Some other highlights for me. Business, I've had some really cool business growth. So I've shifted my business model around. So I went from selling a high ticket course to now a low ticket subscription school community, my conscious community, if you guys want to come join. And I'm really loving it. The results are amazing. There's just like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of testimonials of people finding their purpose, people healing their trauma, them releasing their limiting beliefs, building beautiful relationships, making money doing what they love. Like to see just the amount of people that are getting the results literally brings a tear to my eye. I fucking love it. So I've been really grateful for switching my business model around. And I'm making consistently good money. Like I'm making $5,000 a week from a subscription model where I don't have to do a ton of sales calls, which is what my old business model used to be. So I'm super grateful for that, where it's super low ticket. It's super affordable for majority of people. And the value you get for what you pay is ridiculous. Like just to give you guys a bit of context, I've paid $44,000 for one coaching program before, which was a group program, where in the time I was in that program, I would have had 20 minutes with the person who runs it. Where for mine, when you join, you get a 15 to 30 minute onboarding call with me one-on-one. Plus you get all the modules, all the tools, all the updated versions of it, deeper than what's in the book. You get weekly Zoom calls. We had one today, actually. And I just love it. The community is amazing. People support each other. People are healing. People are growing. So I'm super, super, super grateful to be having that. So my conscious community, links down below if you want to check it out. Free 7-day trial available as well. So something I've learned when it comes to business. So a couple of business lessons I wanted to underline. Number one, just make your product so good. Like, honestly, if you just nail that, if you just make your product so good that people never leave and they refer you friends, you don't have to be the world's best marketer. You don't have to be the world's best salesperson. You don't have to like be the best branding person on the planet because your product is so fucking good. So that's something that I keep coming back to. I'm literally refining my product as we speak. So I'm actually going through self-mastery and refining it for like the 5th time. So it's like the 5th time I've refined it. So I'm actually doing that. So if my conscious community members are watching this, I'm actually refining it right now. I'm going to refilm it in about a week or 2 once I finish refining it. So that's been a huge lesson for me. So just make the product so good. If people are not referring you people, your product is not as good as you think you are. Or you think it is. So make your product better. Get feedback. Ask why people cancel. Every person that cancels, I say thank you for being a part of the family. Would love to know some feedback. What made you make the decision to cancel? What would you like to see improved for the future? And take it on. Refine. Get it to a point where more people stay for longer and it's so fucking good that they just have to refer you people. Get to that point. And I'm starting to have that, which I'm grateful for. Second is more about offers. I won't get too tactical on this. I help service-based businesses do this, but just making sure your offer ecosystem makes sense. So you've got like your core offer, a high ticket offer, a subscription offer, and intro offers. And just make sure they all make sense. So adding value, if I was to shorten this lesson, just make sure all the offers you have feed into each other. So your intro offers, which might be just strategy calls or discovery calls or podcasts like what you're listening to right now. This is I guess an intro offer because it's just value that you're listening to. I know it's more of a recap. This one is not, maybe there's a bit of value here for you guys, but it's more of like a recap. But like my trainings, my workshops, my masterclasses, my live videos, my strategy calls that I used to do, just make sure you're doing them and they're really valuable and they're actually transformational. And then you can then upsell them into whatever your next offers are. Just make sure your offer ecosystem is bang on. Because that's been a huge shift for me as a coach. Because when I started, I guess I went from owning gyms to being a coach online. Like I had to build out my model. I didn't know what to sell. I didn't know how to charge it. I didn't know what offers to do. I didn't know how to take people through a client journey. I had to figure this shit out. And I've been paying mentors to help me do that. And just a big shift I've had this year is just making sure your offer ecosystem is on point. So your intro offers feed into your core offers. They upsell to your high ticket offers. You've got a subscription offer if you have the resources, tools, and skills to do that. So that's just been a big lesson for me. And I'm still learning that right now because I'm starting to run in-person events, which I just mentioned. So that's another offer that I've added into it. And one other lesson that I thought was really valuable, I got this from Layla Hormozi. And it's the term of time to value. So from the moment someone signs up to use your product or your service, how long does it take from the moment they sign up to the moment that they get value? And how do you make it so quick? And because it's like you might have signed up or you go say you go to a restaurant and you've heard the restaurant's amazing, the product is amazing, but you go there, you go to the restaurant, you sit down, say they don't bring the food out for an hour. It's like it's like hurry the fuck up. Like I'm waiting for my food. It's like versus they bring it out to you in 5 minutes, right? Or whatever the sweet spot is. So make sure what I'm focused on is when someone joins my community, they work with me, whatever service they sign up for, whenever they join, how can I make it so efficient and quick and seamless for them to get value? And whatever that is, transformation, healing, self-worth, confidence, whatever the product is or service that you're offering. So how do you just streamline your customer journey? So the moment they join to as soon as possible, you give them amazing value. Just stack it full of value soon. Don't drag it out to try keep them for longer if that's the mentality, because I've seen people have that mentality. I just want to drip feed it over ages so they have to stay around to get it. It's like people will just say, fuck, this is taking too long, hurry up, I'm canceling. And then they'll give you bad word of mouth and it's just not worth it. Just like, how do you just give them the most valuable stuff as quick and seamless as possible? Just a balance to what I'm saying though, is you're just going to make sure it's easy to digest, because the biggest reason that people churn in businesses is overwhelm. There's too much information. So I'm trying to find that sweet spot of how do I make it efficient to give them so much value, it blows their minds, they become raving fans, but I make it so simple, so seamless. So that's something that I've learned this year and something that I'm going to continue to refine. What else? Social media growth's been cool. I don't really talk too much about it, but if I was to touch on it, I think I grew on Instagram alone 200,000 followers, which is cool. So thanks for the support, guys. I love you. Thank you for supporting me. I think that's been the biggest growth. I think all my other platforms grew a little bit, but Instagram's definitely the main focus for me. So thank you, guys. I genuinely love and appreciate you guys for supporting me. So much love. Truly, truly grateful for that. A tip or two for social media: be consistent. If it's anything that I'm good at with my social media posting, it is consistency. I think I've done like 5,700 or so posts as of for recording this video right now. So just show up consistently, post consistently, do it for a long period of time, add value. And then this is a big one that I've actually really leaned into lately, is speak your truth, and you don't want to have the mentality of what I'm about to say, but there's certainly truth to it. If you're not offending people, or if people don't like you, you're not being honest enough. Now, don't have the mentality of I'm just going to post things to piss people off. That's not what I'm saying. The question I've got, and I told my clients this question today on our live call. I said, what's the beliefs that you have that you're too scared to tell others? What's your absolute fucking truth that you believe to be true, that you're too scared to tell others? Make content on it. Speak your truth. Now, again, don't have it like I'm just going to post things to offend people and to piss people off because that's my intention. But speak your fucking truth. Like, one of my beliefs that trigger people that don't agree with me, I believe medications for things like depression and trauma and anxiety is masking the problem. It's only fixing symptoms. It's a Band-Aid. Now, is there time and place to use a Band-Aid whilst you address the root cause? I agree with that. But if you never address the root cause, you've just signed up for a lifetime subscription to medications and never solve the root cause. Think of that as a business model. It is the best business model on the planet. I'm going to always almost solve your problem. I'm never going to fully solve it. I'm just going to always almost solve it for you. That's a great fucking business model, right? Where with me, and you'll see it from my testimonials and the work that I do, people, we solve the root cause and they have the transformation instantaneously. They have the healing moment. I've got this beautiful testimonial that I got, I think 3 weeks ago now. One of my clients, I won't use her name, but she did my balancing process, which is my trauma healing process. She was sexually abused by her dad for 5 years. Did the process, and I'm going to try to get the wording right. She said, it's been a tough 30 plus years in trauma therapy. However, in this moment, I'm so grateful for what I went through and how this happened for me. So she did one of my sessions, one of my processes, because I addressed the root cause. And she'd been doing trauma therapy for 30 years. She'd done 30 years of trauma therapy. One of my processes, my balancing process, healed that wound. And she got to the point of love and gratitude. And earlier in the post, she says, to say that I love my dad is something I never thought could ever be possible, considering that I was bedridden in pain for 8 years. So it's a crazy testimonial. It was one of my favorite ones I've ever seen, to be honest. But what I was getting at, that's one of my beliefs. That's my conflicting beliefs, that if you never solve the root cause, you are never going to actually heal properly. You're just masking symptoms. So that's an example of speaking your truth. So what beliefs do you have that you're too scared to tell others? Talk it, say it, but say it in a healthy way. Don't be a dick and just do it to just piss people off because, well, you can if you want, but that's not my vibe. Last thing I want to finish on. Something that I'm still figuring out right now is learning to switch off. I have definitely come from my self-worth is dependent on how successful I am and how many achievements I have and how hard I work. And I'm definitely softened that massively. My beautiful wife has helped me significantly with that. But it's still certainly something that comes up for me, and it's still something that I'm still facing off against and I'm still leaning into, I'm still working through. Because it's like, I enjoy I'm a gamer. If anyone doesn't know me personally, I love video games. Like, I love Mario Kart, I love COD, I love playing video games. But sometimes I'd feel guilty of like, oh my God, I'm playing video games. I should be working. I should be hustling. I should be whatever. Like, I have to go whatever. And remember, should, have to, ought to, got to. That's projections. So I'm taking on other people's projections. But it's just something that still shows up for me. So that's still something that I'm learning to lean into more. It's obviously around Christmas time. Like, it's December 20th at the time of me recording this. So yeah, that's just something that I'm currently leaning into. I'm not by all means perfect with this. I certainly haven't cracked this one yet, but I'm still leaning into it. If you've got any answers or solutions to it, comment it down below. But this is just a little takeaway that I wrote down. Is the goal doesn't make you fulfilled. It doesn't make you happy. It's the effort that you put in of doing what work you're truly proud of, like the book that I mentioned, And it's the person that you become along the way that ultimately makes you fulfilled. So that's something that I'm learning to lean into, of not getting so obsessive, like, okay, let's just achieve, work, hustle, and being okay just switching off. And I guess on that note, I'm going to switch off this podcast and go downstairs and hang out with my wife. So I love you guys. Honestly, I don't know how to express the appreciation and gratitude that I have for you guys supporting me, for following me, for consuming my content, for working with me. If you're any of my clients, or whether you're just an audience member, just consuming my content, I am truly grateful for you. My purpose is to heal and raise consciousness. My mission is to coach 10 million people to create a life that they love. And I want to do that through my books, through my content, through my services, through my events. And I'm just grateful for everyone that I get to meet and hopefully impact in a positive way along the journey. I'm definitely not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm totally okay with that. And I hope you have a beautiful 2025. Like, I truly hope that you crushed your 2025. If you feel drawn to working with me, details below, book, community, events, it's all down below if you feel drawn to work with me. And I love you. I appreciate you. Have a beautiful 2025. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. I'll speak to you soon. Peace.